Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are learning how to crochet the braided puff headband. Now today this is an intermediate level pattern. I do not recommend, if you're a beginner, going straight for this one. I recommend that you try some simpler patterns first, just because there's a few more advanced skills that we are going to use today. But if you've been crocheting for a while and you know how to puff stitch, how to half double crochet, foundation half double crochet, and how to double crochet, then you should be pretty well ready to go. And if you don't know how to do any of those, you can go ahead and check out my channel. I have tutorials for all of those. Alright guys, for this pattern you're going to need, depending on what size, you are going to need anywhere between 56 and about 82 yards of worsted weight. I used acrylic yarn. You can use cotton, you can use whatever worsted weight is your favorite, but you're going to need worsted weight yarn. I recommend having a yarn needle so that way we can fasten off and finish off everything really well. You're going to need a pair of good scissors, and then I used a H8 5mm hook, and that just will depend on your gauge. This tutorial goes specifically with my written pattern that is in my Etsy shop, so if you want all of the details you can go grab that. But today I'm going to be making a child medium braided puff headband pattern, so you can follow along with me, or you can go ahead and check out the pattern in my Etsy shop. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited to make a headband with you. Alrighty guys, to go ahead and get started, we are going to start with our slip knot. And we are going to chain 2. And we're going to start with our foundation half double crochet row. So we're going to start by creating our first foundation half double crochet. Pull up to the 3 loops, pull through 1, then pull through all 3, so that's our first. And we're going to do our entire row of foundation half double crochets. So today I'm going to be making a child medium. So I will be doing 69 foundation half double crochets. So I'll go ahead and continue this. I will say what you want to make sure is when you pull up your foundation half double crochet, and you know this if you've done these a lot, but you want to make sure that the loops are all even. Otherwise what can happen is your row will actually start to curl one way or the other, and you do not want that for your headband. It won't be a huge deal, but it will end up making a difference in the end for kind of how it looks. If you want it to be super even and flat, you just want it to be as consistent as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my first row, and I will be right back. Alrighty guys, so I finished my row and a foundation half double crochet. So now you're going to chain 1, and you're actually just going to half double crochet in each stitch all the way down. So you just want to make sure that you're not like getting too tight or too loose, but this will kind of create it's almost like a brim, it's an edging, but it'll help you create a really pretty texture, with also kind of a wider band, because I know personally during the fall and winter months I want a little bit wider of a band, so that way it keeps my ears warm. That's what this half double crochet is creating, is it's making sure that that band is just wide enough to make sure that your ears are covered without it being too big. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my half double crochet row. You do yours, and we'll meet back here in just a minute or two. Alrighty guys, so I just finished my half double crochet row. So that's what it should look like so far. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn, and now you're going to half double crochet in the 3rd loop. So for some pattern designers, what they mean is the loop on this side, on the back side. I mean this loop right here in the front, right here in front of you. It's the easiest for me personally. So we're going to yarn over and just do a half double crochet, but we're going to insert the hook into just that loop right there. So you're going to yarn over again, pull up and pull through, yarn over, insert into only that 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up, complete your half double crochet, and you're going to do this all the way across. And I'm going to do a couple more and I'll show you what it's going to create. Creates a really fun texture on the opposite side, so you kind of have to wait just a minute and you'll get to see it and it'll be really cool. So alright, so on this side, on the back side, this is the texture that it creates. You can see the top of the half double crochet stitch from your previous row, and it almost looks like a mini braid, and that's why I really liked it with this braided puff stitch headband, is it adds just a little more texture to kind of complement the larger braid that we are going to make. So go ahead, and this will be what we do for the entire row. So go ahead and we'll work up our rows and we'll meet back here in just a second. Alrighty guys, so I finished my half double crochet in the 3rd loop only row, and what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 2. We're going to start our very first row of what I call a puff stitch combo. So now we're going to turn, and you'll see that you can see the tops of the half double crochet stitches from that 2nd row. So we have like our mini braid. Now we're going to start the large middle braid. So right here we have a chain 2, we've turned, we are going to skip 1, 2, and in this 3rd loop we are going to, or in this 3rd stitch, excuse me, we are going to double crochet. Alright, and then back to this first skipped stitch, we are going to puff stitch. Now we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over again, pull up. We're going to do this for a total of 4 times, or until we have 9 loops on the hook. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you'll yarn over and pull through, and then you'll chain 1. So you'll notice there should be a skipped stitch right there in the middle. That the chain 1 is taking up the place of that skipped stitch. So that way we have a 3-stitch combo that we are going to repeat. So we'll do it again. So we're going to skip 1, 2, and in that 3rd stitch we are going to double crochet. Okay. And in this first stitch that we skipped, we're going to yarn over and do our puff stitch. Yarn over and pull through to finish the puff stitch, and then chain 1. So we're going to repeat this all the way down. I'll do it one more time just so you guys can watch, and then we'll go ahead and work them up on our own. So we're going to skip 1, 2, double crochet. In the first skip stitch, we're going to work our puff stitch. Chain. Alright, so we've got our first 3 puff stitch combos to create our braid. We're going to go ahead and repeat this combo all the way across, and then I'll meet you back here in a second. Alrighty guys, so I've finished the first puff stitch row, And I finished my last puff stitch combo, and I wanted to show you how we wrap this up. So we're going to slip stitch into that last stitch in this row, and this is just to make sure that the herringbone pattern continues all the way to the very end. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and chain 2, turn it around, and you'll see this is going to be the wrong side, or what's called the wrong side of your headband, because the right side is with that little braid as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to be doing a very similar combo, it's just not going to be in the normal stitches. You're going to be doing it in the spaces instead. So you're going to double crochet into this first chain space between puff stitches. Okay, and then if you can see it right there, that is the space we are going to be doing our puff stitch into. So it's the chain space between our slip stitch and our puff stitch. And that one should be the hardest puff stitch to do. So then you'll go ahead and chain 1. And then from here on out, they're going to be a little bit simpler because they're all going to be within the chain spaces. So you're going to double crochet, not in this one because you already did it with that one. So you're going to double crochet in this chain space. Then you're going to puff stitch in the first chain space where your first double crochet was from the row. Chain 1, and you're just going to repeat it. So double crochet into the next chain space, and puff stitch into the previous one, and chain 1. And you're going to repeat this all the way across. Now I do know if you have trouble with getting consistent tension for your puff stitches, then I suggest maybe you might want to loosen up your tension just a little bit for these, because they will kind of, you'll see as we do go into next, for some people they'll actually indent right here at the end, and it's okay if the end is not perfect because we're going to actually make a faux knot here. So all this, even though it's not perfectly even, it's all going to get hidden. Nobody's going to see it anyway. So don't worry about it too much. So go ahead and we'll continue these puff stitch combos all the way across. And then we will come back together here in just a minute. See you in a second. Alrighty guys, so I wanted to show you how to work this last puff stitch combo of this row, because it can be a little bit tricky for people who aren't really used to doing the puff braid. So you're going to double crochet into this chain space that we created from the very beginning. So there's a chain 2 and then there was our double crochet. So we're going to actually double crochet into that chain space. And then you're going to work your puff into the chain space previous. Finish it and then do a chain 1. And then you're actually going to slip stitch into that same chain space to keep the shape even. Then what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1. And you're going to always make sure you do not try to half double crochet into that slip stitch, okay? You're only going to half double crochet into the chain 1s, the puff stitches, and the double crochets. That's it. So I know for me, sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and recount my stitches to make sure that I didn't accidentally add one, because it can be a little tough to make sure that you have a consistent stitch count if you're not used to crocheting into puff stitches and crocheting into a puff stitch braid especially. So you're just going to do a half double crochet into each stitch other than the slip stitch. And you should end up with the same stitch count that you started with your foundation half double crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and work up all of my half double crochets for this row, and I will be back with you in just a second. So you go ahead and you work on it too. You can go ahead and pause the video if need be, or do what you need to do. I'll see you in a second. Alrighty guys, so I finished my half double crochet row after the braid, and remember this is on the right side. So now we are going to go ahead and chain 1, and we are going to half double crochet in the third loop again. So remember that's a yarn over. You're going to insert your hook into this back loop, or front loop technically, and pull through, and that's the only loop you're going to work into. And when you do so, it creates a texture on the opposite side. So you're going to do a half double crochet in the third loop only, all the way across your row. And remember, it's creating this fun mini braid texture, so you'll have 2 mini braids on either side of your large puff braid. So remember, as you're doing this, you want to keep consistent tension, because otherwise you'll end up with kind of a wonky, it'll kind of like almost like curl, but not just one way. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping a consistent tension throughout all of your stitches, even through the stitch changes. And if you need to, because these are tighter stitches, you can always stretch them out a little bit. And if it's not perfect, don't stress, because guess what? This one is a very, very stretchy type of headband, and so it'll actually be really forgiving, especially when you have it on. People will probably not even notice if you have a couple stitches that are a little looser or a little tighter, because the overall headband is very stretchy in texture and everything. So just go ahead and have some fun, relax, but do your best to keep the correct tension, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'll see you back here when we're at the end of our rows. Alright guys, so at the end of your half double crochet in the third loop only row, we're going to go ahead and chain 1. We're going to turn, and this will be our final row of our headband. We are just going to single crochet in every stitch all the way across, and this will just kind of even out the 2 sides and wrap up the band itself. And then once our band is finished, I'm going to show you how to actually seam the 2 ends together into a faux knot, and that will just kind of round out and finish up our headband. So go ahead and finish your final row with single crochets, 1 in each stitch. You should end up with the same number of single crochets that you had as foundation half double crochets. Remember, stitch count should not have changed at all throughout our whole headband. So go ahead and finish out your row, and I will be back here to show you how to wrap it up here in a minute. Alrighty guys, once you finish your single crochet row, you're going to go ahead and you're going to want a long tail, and you're going to go ahead and fasten off, and you're going to secure it with a knot. I just tend to pull through, and it'll knot itself, just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create our faux knot. So for this, you're going to need a yarn needle. You can use plastic one or wood one, whatever, metal, whatever you've got. And you're going to go ahead and weave in your beginning tail, because that will just kind of get in the way. So I weave it in on the wrong side. You may do whichever is most comfortable for you. I just weaved it on the wrong side, so if it pops out at some point, you're not even going to see it. So you're going to want to start off by doing so. And then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to take that long tail and you're going to use it for seaming the two ends together to create your faux knot. So we're going to go ahead and pull through. Snip that off. All right. So to create your faux knot, you're going to want to put the right side on the inside. And what you're going to start off with by doing is you're actually going to create a U shape with the two ends. Now it doesn't have to be perfect U, just the idea. Because you're going to insert the right side inside the left side. And it's just to fold them up like so. So this is to make it easier, so you have left half, right half, left half, right half. However, it is easiest for you to create that shape and to get it situated like this, go for it. So I'm going to go ahead and take my long tail and I'm going to attach my yarn needle. A couple other tails, but I'll weave those in once I'm already seamed up. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start in the top portion and you're going to seam through the top two layers, only the top two layers. Okay, so you're going to seam through, you're going to pull through, and you're going to sew back and forth between just the top two layers right now. If it's easier, you can let go of right here, whatever works for you. You're going to want the top two layers, and I usually go until one more, and then I try to take this little corner, the corner of each layer, and make it all the way out as far as I can for that half. And pull it up, and then I'll push down and want to get through all three layers now. So I went through the top layer, this middle layer, and the second middle layer, all the way through. And now we're done with the top layer. You're now going to seam the two middle layers only. And all the way till this half hits the corner. And then I like to go and make sure this one's tight because that tends to be a problem. And then I go and I make sure I get through all three. That can be tricky sometimes. And I pull through. And now we're done with the top two layers. We just have the bottom two layers to sew through. And we're going to seam just these two layers all the way down. And then what I like to do is when I hit this corner, take this corner and I try to make it go into the halfway point right here. And then before I tighten it, I also want to take my needle and go through and create one of my securing knots. I do this a couple times just because the faux knot tends to be a point of stress for the headband because it's where it's going to be. It's going to be a stretch point. So I want to make sure that it's really secure. Alright, And then what I do is I then take it and I actually just tend to weave in the ends right away because I've already got the yarn needle attached and I'm already on the wrong side, so it makes it a lot easier. And I like to make it a little longer just in case something happens and you gotta re-knot it for some weird reason. It's always nice to have a little longer one. So then I pull it through and fasten up. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to tie that. And then what you're going to do is you're actually going to turn it inside out. And there you are. So I have a couple other ends to weave in right there. But that is pretty much all you have to do. Now it is ready for you to wear. You can wear it either way. It really doesn't matter. You could even wear this where this is underneath your ponytail if that is how you prefer to wear your headbands, or you can have it right on your forehead, kind of like how it is in style right now. But that is your braided puff headband. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I hope you get to make them in whatever colors and for whoever you would like. For yourself or for gifts, they're just such a fun and quick pattern. You can whip these up really. You could even probably whip a couple up in an evening if you were really going for it. But it's a really fun pattern. I hope you enjoy. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll bring you more tutorials soon. Thank you so much.